Tonight's tactical enhancement is more of the German beer, which makes sense because this game is set in Germany. Looks a bit like England, may have something to do with the railway sets that I bought for buildings, but it's Germany because we're playing World War III, Flames of War. And our mission tonight is Counterattack. And it's laid out on the table just like the map. Emilio, why is it very sus sounding phone notification? Emilio chose to defend, so most of his troopers are way over there in the corner in the little industrial warehouse complex. And all my attacky stuff is over here. And Emilio, well, let's just go through the objectives first. I put an objective right here, so got a bit of travel to get to my objective. And Emilio put his objective right there, guarded by a nice big chunky platoon of the British mech infantry, which will be very hard to dig out of anywhere, but I'll have a go. I've got a ranged in marker on that platoon there. Now what else has Emilio got? He's got 2 chieftains.
And 2 chieftains in ambush.
That's right, 2 of the sneaky bastards waiting to put it where we don't like it. And you can just see one of the rapiers peeking out from behind that building, which hopefully will not get bumped at any point during the game because that's very close to the edge of the table. Alright, okay. Now for his reserves. In reserve, Emilio's got another platoon of mech infantry.
Yes, another add-on unit of Milan.
Yep.
They're the chieftains in ambush to the side.
Yep.
And they're the vehicles for the platoon.
And we do use stand-ins for the transports for the British infantry. Well, it just gets creepy, that noise. Which is okay, it's a friendly game, so we don't mind using stand-ins. And what else we got?
We got 3 swing fire.
Lovely.
Yep. And we've got, you've seen the Scorpions.
Yes, always useful.
And the Spartan blowpipes.
Right, yep, also useful. I have some choppers. Now I'm building the Russians today. Thought I'd have a bit of a change from the usual war pack. We have some hail and their observer to the right there. I'm guarding them with tanks. Not entirely sure why I'm guarding them with tanks. It may not be the smartest thing I've ever done, but that's what I'm doing for the moment. Over here, I brought some shilker. They'll just back up the BMP rush. I've got 3 platoons of BMP infantry plus a BMP infantry HQ. Now I've dismounted some of the infantry to work through these buildings here and perhaps give some flank protection from what I'm expecting to be some chieftains try and ruin my day. I don't want them getting in amongst me. And Emilio just gave me this perfect opportunity to blast straight down the road at those chieftains and try and get an alpha strike. No idea if they'll actually work, and it occurs to me I haven't actually checked if they're in range. So that may turn out to be kind of stupid, but we'll see how we go. So you can see from here, this is the staging off point at the BP, and they've just refueled, I guess. And then they've got to make their way either down the main road there or through the little back lanes to this objective over here. And of course the reserves will be coming on from this corner here where the tape measure is. So I'm expecting quite the little light vehicle shit fight in amongst the buildings and trees. That should be fun. So we might do some dice rolls in a moment for turn 1. Right, well that's the end of the movement, and I realised I made a deployment error, so I had to move everything back a little bit further from where you saw it in the last shot. Since then everybody's moved. Bit of a car park here, a lot of BMPs full of infantry. Now, infantry also started off further back, so they've just moved up to here. You'll notice that my alpha strike of BMP spandrel fire didn't happen because I thought it'd be a bit cheaty to do some tricky setup after I just fucked up my initial deployment. So I tried a movement order to put them back in position for that alpha strike, and of course, you know, they're Russians. It's a skill test. Didn't work out too well, so they just drove forward very slowly instead and hid behind a building. So that's it for movement. Now I shall do some artillery on those infantry over there. They're already ranged in. I've got a spotter back in a mo.
And we're pinned as well?
And they're pinned. So the artillery killed one guy. Hit a couple of vehicles, hit that front building there, clipped that back building there, toasted one stand of British infantry. There they are. Anyway,
GPMG.
I'm always happy when I kill British infantry. It's so fucking hard to do. Anyway, it is now turn 1 for Emilio.
Yes, they're on.
Right, Emilio's has done his reserve roll and he's got a platoon on already. It is like playing Yahtzee with Emilio sometimes. We'll check in at the end of the movement phase. So Emilio's, or the British, turn 1 movement has finished. The reserves came in and immediately went and hid, which is understandable when you look at the sheer fuck ton of light armor coming down the parklands there. So the British did a 10-inch redeploy there of the chieftains in the background to try and get some cozy shots, probably on the shulkers. I think they're probably rather poorly positioned for those fires. Emilio also popped his ambush, really just to take out the BMP-1 observer, and he didn't like the idea of sitting on the artillery for multiple turns, so all that infantry in those buildings there is shuffled out of the way. And also the rapiers have moved up a little bit so that they can get my choppers wherever they are on the table.
Yeah, my vehicles are hidden in the forest over here.
Oh yeah, there's some machine gun toting APCs there in the forest. Now into the shooting, and where do you want to start?
Right, well you can see I've got 2 chieftains aimed right at the spot. If there's anything I can see.
4 shots of that poor little thin armoured bastard.
Let's roll the first 2 shots and see how we go.
Oh, you got it all at once. Cool your shots.
Do you want them all at once?
Yeah, come on. There's nothing else for them to shoot at.
Okay.
My tanks are all hiding thoroughly in the forest, which is where they like to be.
Oh,
And look at that. 2 hits.
definite.
2 hits. Well, they'll go straight in, and I believe you got a 2+ to kill. Well, that would be 2 times 2+. The cowpat of Doom's done its job, and that thing is fucked.
Okay.
I suspect there's probably not quite enough smoke for what 120mm chunk of plastic explosive at high velocity will do to one of those things. But anyway, there we go. Now we got these chieftains over there. God, that's not good positioning. Shooting from the hip. Roll the dice.
Okay, 1 dice each. You know where I'm going.
Yeah, go for the shulkers.
So go for the sugars. 6 and a 4.
Well, fuck, they'll both hit. They'll both go right through the armor. Just roll for the firepower. I know, 1 and a 3. One of them survives. Alright, well that's about it for the shooting, isn't it?
Yep.
Alright, well I shall check in at the end of the movement for the Ruski turn 2. Okay, movement has finished for the Ruskis for turn 2. Emilio's not happy and is trying to negotiate redeployment of his rapiers to try and get more shots, but the choppers are squeezing as much in the corner as they can be. It means they actually can't get those APCs with their Gatling guns. They've got to use missiles instead, which will probably cut down on the total number of casualties. But the trade-off is only 2 rapiers can get me instead of 4, so I've got a running chance. And we see here the big clusterfuck of all the infantry piling out, moving on the objective. Got to move a bit more carefully now because the thing that turns up next might start blowing away BMPs. More troops in the building here. Lots of infantry. You can see here the destroyed shulker. Now over here you can see the problem he's got. He's trying to avoid the artillery template. His infantry are all bunched, so spread out away from the template, including the car park, which is taking up space that the rapiers would need to take up. It's a nice little defensive corner there, but it is a bit tricky for manoeuvre. Now over here, hang on, my tanks, 3 out of the 4 anyway, the ones that didn't bog, have decided to chance it on a hit on those chieftains. It's a long shot, but fuck it, I'm 2 beers down, I'm tired, I want to kill some shit before it's pumpkin o'clock. Right, well my tank's hit with only 1, but it got through the armour, wasted that chieftain, and the other one has failed his morale tests. So I actually just, by some fucking fluke, wasted that 2 tank unit of chieftains. So I'm actually quite happy about that. Emilio's not, he's shaking his head at me, and I won't describe the rest of the expression. Emilio has, however, demanded that we do the rapier shots at the choppers on table. How many dice is that?
6 dice, 3 each.
6 dice, 3 for rapier. Needing 3s to hit. What do we got there?
We got a 6 and a 6, a 3, a 3, a 2, and a 2.
Alright, well, them's the odds. That's 1 hit on each chopper. So I gotta do, what the fuck's the save on these things? 4+, I think. Play some background music while I shuffle through the cards. Aircraft save of a 4. Alright.
So 4 dice, 1 each, and you need to roll 4s or higher.
As they lie.
Down, down, and down, and there's only 1 chopper left.
Well, you gotta do firepower tests yet. Those are 3+. One down.
1 down.
Oh, that's rough.
Oh.
Alright, well now. That fucker can careen off the table. I should probably film that. That gives me 3 missile shots at those armoured personnel carriers. Needing 4s. Oh, that's rough. Oh dear. Oh, they're straight in. I can't remember which of those is that, but 3 is what I needed. So 2 of them go off. So you got 1 bailed. The infantry just get out of that intact. And 2 destroyed. And then you got to do an infantry save for each of the guys inside.
Mm-hmm.
So how many infantry in that platoon all up?
So there's...
Here we go. Yep. Alright, split them in half. Half of them unaffected at all.
Okay. Let's mix them up. There's 2, 4. There we go. Do like that. That's split up. So they're not affected. And we'll work on them.
Alright, yep.
5 dice.
Yep.
And what I need to save on this slot.
3+ will do it. There's a cocked one. Sort him out.
Oh,
Killed one.
which one? Do I take one off?
Whoever you like. That was pretty lucky. I suppose it kind of makes up for some of the
Losses.
pretty good
Well,
luck I've enjoyed this turn.
2 chieftains, that hurt.
Yeah, that hurt. Well, I can live with that. Things are dying. I'm happy. And we'll check in at the end of Emilio's, or the British movement for turn 2.
Yep, reserves.
Now, Emilio wanted to show the roll for the reserve. Let's see what happens. You Yahtzee bastard. Okay, at the end of the British turn 2 movement, some little scorpions, what are they, have turned up. The scale difference between these is hilarious, but if they hit anything, they'll fuck it up. The British infantry unpinned, unfortunately, and have moved up, as you might expect, to try and cause some carnage on these BMPs, and some blue pipe APCs have turned up. And that'll be a problem because that's a lot of AA in the table now. These tanks have moved up, so they will hold down on the hill there, overwatching on the objective. Bit of a worry. Now, the rapiers have shuffled to get closer and get a couple more shots in. We'll see how it goes. And we'll check in at the end of the turn. Okay, end of the British shooting, turn 2, and there's a few new smoke markers around. A couple of BMPs here, a toast, and 3 BMPs over here, a toast.
Make a test, yeah?
Yeah, I gotta do a test, that's right.
Roll dice.
Where are my dice? I put them around here somewhere. Okay, 3+ for the Fuzzerland. Not well, aren't you quite the card? You'll be killed later. So he will run away ingloriously. Yes. These are my smoke markers. I'm thinking I might airbrush them later to give them a bit more sort of fiery colour. But as an afternoon's glue and washes and as in metal washes and teasing apart cotton wool buds. Now we shall go to the Russian turn 3. Okay, so turn 3 Russian movement. The tanks are advancing. Got to be a bit careful of the Gustavs and whatnot up there. One guy keeps bailing, of course. Choppers have removed themselves from the table until I've done something about all those pesky AA all over the place. To that effect, I finally got a movement order to work. I've got some BMPs here to take some shots down at those, what are they? The blowpipes?
Yeah, blowpipes.
Spartan blowpipes. Okay, now we've got a movement order to work on the infantry. And they have shifted across the building just near the objective. Of course, they may get shot at by those tanks. And while we're at it, another platoon who failed their movement order, they've just shuffled into the nearest building. Now, I have moved infantry out to try and hose as much of those British as I can. And the Shilkers will get some shots at British infantry in the buildings, but only the 2 stands on the top floor. So, I've got a lot of dice to roll. We'll check in when that's done. So I was very happily shooting up his light armour. I took out 3 out of the 4 blowpipes and a couple of these scorpions. And then all these AKs killed nothing. They just kept making their infantry saves. And the Shilkers hit a grand total of 2 bastards in the top floor. Roll for some infantry saves there, please, Emilio.
6 and 6.
And they fucking knocked shit. I was about to feel sorry for him because of well, that and the AA here did not have a good time of it. But now I'm thinking, no, he's yahtzeed his way out of trouble again. Maybe do a morale test on that last blowpipe there. Oh, 1, good. The British morale is doing what it usually does, thank God. Probably need to stop shooting at this point and hand over to Emilio's turn 3. Right, British movement. Those guys didn't move because they want to get their double shots. The infantry have consolidated into the building. The tanks have moved up to threaten the objective,
yep,
which of course, and take shots on those BMPs. Yep, transports moved over there to start. Well, actually, you might want to move them back behind the wall because they can't shoot this turn. They just moved the dash. Yeah, so it's forcing his tanks to get close, which is how the Ruskies like it, up close and violent. And not much other movement happening except to shuffle around a few stands to presumably threaten my tanks. Oh, and he's moved some transports around here to hose down the hail, which I suppose I shouldn't let him do that in principle, but the hail aren't really going to achieve anything in the rest of the game, so I'm not too bothered. Anyway, on to the shooting. Not much shooting to do, so roll some dice.
Now, I guess we're going for these targets here. That's probably the best targets.
Certainly an option. Infantry in the open's the alternative, but...
So, 3 dice?
4.
4 dice.
4 dice in total, though. It's just 2 dice per vehicle.
You ready?
Yep. 2 hits, 1 on each. They go straight in. Need a 2+ to kill. That's a 1. Oh, you killed one of them. That'll force a morale test. I'll just do that now. Dodgy Games Workshop traded dice, and he lives. Amazing. Alright, now we've got 2 tanks, 2 dice. Throwing BMP3s. Let them rip.
Yes.
Boom and boom. Alright, 2 pluses to kill. Good lord.
1.
1 kill again.
Go there.
Okay, 2 Milan shooting out of that window.
Go there.
What are they gonna shoot at?
Probably him and him.
Up to you, one of each.
Yep.
All right.
So him first.
Yep. That's we'll call that a hit.
That one.
That's a hit. All right. 3 pluses to kill.
Yep.
A dead BMP and a dead shulker.
That was better. Milan.
Oh man, these smoke markers. I'm glad I made a lot of them. All right. Okay. Well, the carnage is in full swing.
Okay. I don't think I've got anything. Carl Gustavs or anything they can spray in the building at these troops. In the open.
You did have some guys who moved there, but you've probably got some machine gun teams in the mix there.
Yep.
I've got absolutely no fucking idea what you've got where.
So
'Cause
GPMG.
these guys on the ground floor can't shoot, and your missiles fired out the top floor. The ground floor's got a wall in the way.
Yep. So then it'll just be these guys here.
A couple of GPMG
Yeah,
teams.
GPMG and a Carl Gustav.
Well, the Gustav
and a GPMG.
moved to get in there.
Well, there's 3 and they only moved 1 in.
So let's say the ground floor GPMGs can shoot, so that's a total of 6 dice. It gets a bit messy. And they've gone and hit a lot of infantry.
That was a good roll, Tex.
Let's see how many of those infantry survive. Hit in the courtyard. Wasted 3. Whoa, that's a bit rough.
That hurt.
Well, fortunately, that's the end of the British shooting. So for the Russian movement, 1 BMP sat still, hoping he's going to kill off these last 2 Scorpions. The remains of that infantry platoon have moved up to shoot at the British in the building from bulletproof cover now. Shulkers are stationary in order to hose down those British some more. We forgot that these guys should have come on last turn as reserves, so he's deployed them somewhere which will be useful for him next turn rather than shooting me this turn, and I've agreed not to shoot at them this turn. Fortunately, I passed a movement order for my BMPs, and they will get a shot in at those tanks. And my infantry have been moving up and consolidating their position. They're now contesting the objective, and I'm going to kill a few little APCs there before they machine gun my infantry. On this flank, every fucking thing bogged except 1 tank. The more I think about it, the more I think it's rather an improbable move for a tank to go over a train line and onto a siding. But there you go, and he might get a lucky shot at a rapier if he's, rolls very, very high. We'll now move on to the shooting, and I'll check in at the end of that. Alright.
I've still got a chance.
Now turn 4 Russian shooting. Well, the BMPs have been thinned out pretty good, but that lucky movement order did allow me to take out one of those tanks. I don't think those BMPs will be there at the end of this turn. And I killed a grand total of 1 infantry stand after firing 24 dice at them. Bloody British. We chased off those APCs over there. So that's it. We're now over to turn 4, British movement. Alright, British movement's been very limited, mainly because the infantry are pinned. Those missiles don't need to move. They'll get some great shots down the street there. And he's just shuffled some infantry to better protect the rapiers from my tanks over there, and that's about it. Let's see what the line of sight is down the road at those BMPs. There's a good view. Roll some dice, mate. See what happens.
Oh, 6, 4, and 1.
Alright, 2 hits. And I'll be killing probably, a 3+?
Yes, they are.
Alright.
Yes, 6 and 6.
Oh, that'll do the job. Okay,
well,
let me just throw a dice here and see if those fellas stick around for more punishment next turn. That didn't roll. It's a pass, but that didn't roll. We'll do it properly. Alright, still a pass. Okay, well, hang on.
This thing.
Let's see if that tank can finish off that last BMP.
You ready?
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, well, that's definitely a hit. Roll a 2+.
Nut cocked.
Holy
1.
shit, he fucking bailed him.
Uh,
How does
it rolled
the cow
it was a 6 over here, but it was cocked.
cocked? Yeah. Well,
So
the cowpat of doom somehow failed to blow away the BMP.
I got 2 Milan that can shoot over here.
Oh, keep rolling them dice, man.
6 and 3.
That'll hit. 3 pluses.
Yes. 5
Toast
and
and
4.
toast. Yep.
So the shookers are gone. Now all the troops in here are going to take shots out at your troops in the open.
Yeah, well, those troops are all in bulletproof cover. And now you might want to think about that because you're pinned. So you've got a reduced rate of fire. And if you don't shoot, then I have to hit you on 6s next turn.
Well then I don't want to shoot. You have to hit me on 6s then. That's
Yeah.
best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Any other shooting?
I think that's it.
Oh, hang on a minute. We forgot something very important.
How many dice have I got?
Okay, we nearly forgot about the cheesiest move in this game. It's moving APCs around the back line to host down hails. 9 dice, needing 5s actually, because they're concealed and gone to ground in a forest. Oh, we got there. We've got 3 hits. Alright, so I'm just going to nick some of your dice. I need 5s to pass the vehicle test. They whiffed. Oh, there goes the hails. Ah, good lord. It's like Andrew said a couple of games ago. If you did this shit in the real world, you get court-martialed for it. Alright, it's turn 5, Russian's turn. At this end of the table, I've got 1 lone BMP sneaking up on these swing fires. And I've got another sneaky BMP way back there. Probably take a pot shot at a tank. It's a bit arsey, but we've got to try. These infantry are stacking up to assault along a very limited aperture into 2 windows. Or a door and a window. Well, they'll be earning medals if they survive. And over here, look, we're contesting the objective. And just to help out the enthusiastic volunteers who have decided to die for the motherland, these guys over here will hock a couple of RPGs across the street into this building. That should look nice. And over there, the tanks are creeping up on the infantry. Don't think they're going to achieve a lot, but I'm going to try and get some use out of them. And I'll check in at the end of the shooting. Right, almost everything that shot achieved absolutely nothing, except for the Spandrel missile off of the remaining BMP-2 that took out the last of those tanks. Emilio has been rolling very poorly for armor saves on tanks today. Now, all other dice rolls bugger all, but we will now push in the assault. Now, you've got 4 windows to shoot out of here. And one of them is a Gustav. We'll shoot at a -1. And then you've got, God, what have you got in there? Basically whatever they are. So that's the Gustav. GPMG. GPMG.
Oh,
Carl
2 and
Gustav.
2.
So the Quad Gustavs get a rate of fire of 1 each at -1 to hit.
Do it now.
Yeah.
6 and 1.
Alright, 1 hit. Let's do a little infantry save there. Oh, he's killed 1 already. That's not good.
That helps.
God. Alright.
Now,
And the GPMGs. Let's have a look at the mech platoon card here. Probably rate of fire 2 by the look of things.
So 4 dice.
Yep.
Okay, well that's not very good. Roll it again. Yes, 6 and 4.
So 2 hits. Live. Oh God, another one's died. Well, they'll be earning their medals today.
Yeah, the assault.
Now we need 5s for that. And hey, we killed 1. We actually got a guy.
Yeah.
Awesome. Now, because the assault's on the ground floor, only 2 teams can fight back. But first, you got to do a morale test.
Do I?
Yeah, in order to counterattack. But your counterattack will be something ridiculously high, like 3+.
3+. 6.
That's cocked.
5.
Now that'll do it. So you get 2 dice back.
6 and 3.
Yeah, we killed him. When this works, the trick is to limit the number of return hits the British can do in any given turn.
That's why they say the windows and doors.
Yeah, and because they're actually technically 2 different buildings, they're separated by a wall, limited avenue. If you're going to do an assault, that's the way to do it. Not losing half your troops on the way in helps. I did pin the bastards, apparently that's not enough.
GPMGs won the day.
And they did. Okay, well that's a dead platoon. And that's also it for turn 5 Ruskies. We'll check in at the end of the movement for the British turn, and they're going to have to do something.
Well,
They're going to have to do something because that objective is wide open, and at the start of turn 6 I can win. Okay, so the British are finally feeling brave. They've passed their morale test for the first time in a couple of turns. They've moved out to contest that objective. The swing fires have decided to sit back and try and take out that last BMP, hiding behind all the smoke. And there's some Malans in this building who'll have a crack at this fella.
so I'll start with the 3 missiles.
Alright.
5.
They got him a couple of times.
Yeah.
And 3+.
Yes,
he's
definitely.
paced.
He's pasted.
Yeah,
2 Milan over there.
Yep.
No.
that bastard's living a charmed life.
And that's it for shooting.
Do they move at the dash or the normal speed?
Normal speed.
Well, they can do some shooting on the move. At probably get a few stands shooting at those guys.
There. Oh, okay.
Well, actually, maybe not.
Can I see you or not?
No, actually, they're hunkered down. So
I can't see you.
Emilio's other infantry in the industrial complex over there, they shuffled around to basically avoid getting shot by the tanks. Okay, that's the end of British turn 5. Now over to turn
Last turn.
6. Now nobody can win before turn 6. I have to read the mission rules.
So we've both contested the objective, and we've both contested the objective over there. So
Let me find this objective.
is it point count or is it?
No, the game is still live. Counterattack, winning the game. The game cannot be won before the 6th turn, so we can now win the game from now on. The attacker wins if they end their turn holding an objective. The defender wins if they end their turn with no attacking teams within 8 inches of an objective. Jeez, that's kind of sudden death, isn't it? Alright, so I've got to end the turn with no British within 4 inches of the objective that all those British are sitting next to.
I could win this game as long as I hold both objectives as a defence.
Well, as long as you keep me more than 8 inches away from the objectives. I think I'm going to have to pull out all stops for this shit. I'll check in at the end of the movement phase. Right, just in time for pumpkin o'clock where we have to pack up anyway. My tanks over there did nothing against the rapiers. Fortunately, I didn't need to because my AK toting infantry here poured out a flying fuck ton of shots, and the British rolled very poorly this turn. The Yahtzee has left the building, and those British infantry are basically gone. Those infantry have just moved up to where they would have assaulted to if the British infantry had been there. And that was that. We did also do a bit of hypotheticals to see what would happen if the swing fires had moved up instead of shooting at that BMP-3, the last one over there.
Yeah, I took out 3 choppers.
Yeah, we ended up with a higher casualty count because the choppers tried to do some shooting, but then the assault went through anyway with the first platoon out of 2, and the result was the same. Well, what have we learned?
Look, I defended. That was what I had to do in this game. My reserves came on when I wanted them to.
Yeah, you did pretty well with them, actually.
I think the chieftains let me down. This is the first time I played with these chieftains, and they let me down. This is turn 1. I lost 2 of my chieftains.
Yeah.
One destroyed, one bailed, and then ran. So
Actually, one was destroyed and the other one just ran. Actually,
just ran. Yeah.
platoons
so
of
14 points just
yeah,
ran.
yeah.
Just gone, and that was the bit that was really hard because I could have actually, if they'd survived that, they probably would have beaten the 4 Russian tanks, and I probably would have had 1 or 2 chieftains come back this way to provide support. That could have been a turning point.
Quite
the
likely.
rapiers should have been placed a bit more centrally, so they had full range of the battlefield, because then I could have taken out more than one chopper in that first or second turn.
That's
and
true.
That was a turning point in the game too.
So those choppers did whittle down those British infantry, and certainly pinned them. What? Interestingly, nothing was really individually a game changer, but there's lots of little things that added up. And I think overall, the dice favoured me more than they did you. He has some classic Yahtzee moments, and you killed a lot of my shit.
Yeah.
But the luck left you at those crucial points right when you needed it. I think that platoons of 2 tanks are very scary indeed, because you only have to lose one bailed out, and that's it. It's your platoon gone.
Yeah, I needed, what was it, a 3+, and I rolled a 1 or a 2.
And the interesting thing is, I was about to give myself shit for encouraging you not to bother with the still brew, because we discussed earlier that if he added still brew to the tanks, for that points difference, I would have got a recce unit, which would have been very useful for making the jump on that objective. So for the overall tactics of the game, it would have favoured me more than Emilio. But when Emilio did armor saves on those tanks, they were so rat shit, those dice rolls, that the still brew wouldn't have made a difference. So yeah, I think you're right. Those tanks let you down.
Yeah, that was the game changer.
Well, that was an interesting one. Lots of movement, lots of carnage. We got done before midnight, which is always a positive at the end of the work week. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoy it. Feel free to hit a like or share it with somebody and all that sort of social media stuff that people do. And hopefully now with COVID receding, we'll get a few more of these in future. So thanks, Emilio. That was a fun game.
You're welcome. First time I've recorded a loss with my Brits.
Fuck, that's true. Usually they're just eating my poles for breakfast. There you go. All right. Well, on that note, I think we better call it a day.